We got the toxicology report back and there are, in fact, narcotics in this song. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Ali and today we are breaking down the Anthology by Taylor Swift.
About time, about ideas. Curse you, Taylor Swift, and your stupid bonus track.
It's a bonus track on the next album.
Taylor Swift.
I know, doesn't a girl ever sleep?
So if you're just finding me, this is a continuation of the deep dive we've been doing on the Tortured Poets department. We previously covered the first 13 songs, and this video going into the anthology tracks is by far my most highly requested, if not demanded, video of all time, which honestly I think makes a lot of sense. I feel like there's slightly more complexity to the songs on this second half of the album. These songs are slightly less face value, so I'm really excited to dive into these and kind of explore and explain what I think they mean. Obviously, this is just my interpretation. You know, I think we all have such different backgrounds and perspectives when we are approaching these songs, and meeting them is similar to meeting a person for the first time. We're all going to have a different take on how we see them. So I really look forward to reading all of your thoughts. Now, before I get into these songs, my bosses at YouTube have let me know that only 50% of you that watch my videos every week are actually subscribed. So if you would like to take the time now to fix that, you can do that down below. I would love for you guys to join us, not only because we are so insanely close to hitting 200,000, but also because I obviously have another fun giveaway today. If you haven't seen my previous deep dives on different albums and eras, I like to do this kind of as I'm explaining and exploring an era. I did it for Speak Now in 1989 to kind of recapture the magic of that era for anyone that maybe didn't live it the first time or wanted to revisit it with me. So then for Tortured Poets, I kind of just wanted to celebrate this era while we're in it. I really do worry that Rep TV will be announced any day now, and this era will soon become a distant memory. So I really want to commemorate it while we're still in it. Today's giveaway, I'm so excited about this. It is a limited edition anthology cardigan. This cardigan is made by Ari Embroidery Studio. It is one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. It has the anthology on it, stars on the elbows, TTPD on the back. I'm so excited for someone to have this. I think I've just decided that I'm gonna need to buy one for myself as well. The only reason I'm not showing it to you here is because I wanted to wait and see where you live, what size you want to order it and ship it out. And for fun, I'll also throw in one of these bad boys, my little TTPD necklace. So same rules apply to last time. All you have to do to enter is firstly, be subscribed to this channel. Secondly, give the video a like. Thirdly, be following on Instagram. And finally, leave the lyric from the anthology, so this second half of the album, that is your favorite. It maybe touched you, it made you laugh, made you cry. Let me know which lyric stands out to you the most and why, if you would like. The giveaway will be announced 1 month from today. So from the day this goes live, that same date a month from now, which I will actually be overseas for, which is very exciting. It is open completely worldwide, no matter where you are, no matter how long you've been subscribed. Anyone can enter, and I'm so excited. I know I don't do giveaways or anything like that very often, but when I do, I just find it so fun. So thank you guys. Thank you for entering. Thank you to everyone that entered the last one. I have so much fun planning for these, buying little things that I think just represents this time period, the album. So I hope I've done it justice this time. All right, well, let's get into it. Okay, first up we have The Black Dog.
Hey, so this is called, Old Habits Die Screaming. So I watch as you walk into some bar called The Black Dog.
I feel like I can't make a third serious black joke, but just know I want to. I just want to shout out this video and everyone that tagged me in it over the weekend because it goes so hard.
And I hope it's shitty in the Black Dog.
You all know how I feel about drums. A good drum really enhances any song. Now, some of you will get what I mean by this, but this is truly the most Taylor Swift song on this album, I think. Did I say that about Clara Bow? Maybe. It is just a quintessential breakup song in the way that I think, this is Taylor's bread and butter. It's what she's so good at writing. It's why Red is such an incredible album. Someone actually clocked me on Instagram the other day. I did a little question box and someone said, even though you think your favorite album is Speak Now, I think it's Red. And that caught me off guard because I was like, hang on. They're not entirely wrong. I think if I revisit my ranking of all of Taylor's songs, and even just the way I speak about songs in these videos, yeah, I see their point. The way that I love Holy Ground and Treacherous and Red and The Vault, it was concerning how well that person knew me. Anyway, before the album came out, I did some predictions on Instagram and you guys said The Black Dog was going to be the favorite, I believe. And I personally think that is 100% true. I think The Black Dog, out of the 4 variant songs, is by far the crowd favorite. And I think it's mine too. Which one did I rank the highest? Well, we know which one it wasn't. When people say that Taylor needs to stop working with Jack, I want to present them songs like this, because what do you mean? What do you mean you don't want Taylor to create music that sounds like the Black Dog? I simply don't understand. It's a very hurtful song in a good way. I believe I said this song's biggest emotion to me is catharsis. It is a release. It is grief and it's anger and it's longing and sadness. But ultimately to me, it's the release of those emotions, especially if you've been holding them in. And that's one of the reasons I love this song so much. There are two schools of thought when it comes to who people say inspired this song. I know paternity testing is not important or relevant, especially to understand or appreciate a song. I'm going to explore the different notions that I've seen people present and present my case as to where I think this song comes from. I am someone who, until recent events, you shared your secrets and your location, you forgot to turn it off. I love this like double reveal here, the double meaning of like sharing something as timeless and intimate as like sharing your secrets, sharing your life with someone, but then also something as modern and relatable as sharing your location on the Find My app on an iPhone. I love when Taylor Swift reminds us that she's a person. And I know I've mentioned there are some instances where I haven't enjoyed this, like no one around to tweet it. Here it is perfectly used. Here it just makes sense. Of course you're going to use Find My Friends. If you're on a world tour, and maybe potentially they are too, you're in a different city, different country every night, this just makes sense. So then the you forgot to turn it off, Taylor uses again as a double meaning. You forgot to turn off your location sharing, which is deeply painful because now she can see your whereabouts as you're moving on. But it's not just that iPhone connection, it's also their emotional one. You forgot to turn off that attachment. She repeats this again in you pierced new holes in my heart, you forgot to turn it off. Her feelings for him are unfortunately still switched on. Also, the pierced new holes in my heart is so Death by a Thousand Cuts coded. Like every day you think you're moving on from them, think you're getting over it a little bit, but then something else, some new reminder that just stabs you all over again. Any kind of loss, whether it is a romantic breakup, friendship breakup, even mourning the loss of a loved one, it isn't like one quick death. It is an agonizing, like repeated slice over and over again as things remind you of that person and the time you had together. Maybe you smell their cologne or watch a movie you used to love together or hear a song that you both used to scream in the car. Or in this case, you see them going out somewhere that you never went together, which represents them moving on. I watch as you walk into some bar called the Black Dog.
So I watch as you walk into some bar called the Black Dog.
This is where things get interesting because a lot of people are assuming this is about the Black Dog pub in London, especially because the Black Dog pub themselves are very much fueling that fire and I think profiting off the exposure here, which, you know, can't really blame them. Swifties are going to go in there regardless, so they might as well take advantage, I guess. That said, I don't know if there was a bit of an overstep when the owner of the pub said, oh, like we've been watching the CCTV footage, we have this certain blonde regular that loves to come in.
The speculation has been as to which one of Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriends frequents your pub. Do we know if Taylor's been in? Have you checked the CCTV?
I have to say we have, but, you know, I don't want to give too much away. We do have a certain blonde regular who frequents, let's just say that.
I felt like that wasn't really necessary to say because regardless of whomever allegedly loved this place, they obviously are never going to go back there now that this song is out. So I don't know, it's already ruined for them. That didn't feel that necessary. Interestingly, Joe himself has also addressed this like rumor and denied it. He denies ever having been to that place, but the story's not over. There is also a Black Dog pub in Budapest where Joe was filming The Brutalist in like March, April and May of last year. But similarly, there is also the Black Dog bar in Cork, Ireland. And you guys might be aware, this song distinctly refers to a bar called the Black Dog, not a pub. I suppose those could be used interchangeably, but personally I wouldn't. Funnily enough, the 1975 played a show just down the block from the Black Dog in Cork last year on June 13th. These are just fun facts to keep in mind. Now, it is of course also possible that the Black Dog wasn't even the bar that people went to, but rather just a representation of it. I remember when I interviewed Renee Rapp for the Snow Angel Deluxe release and we chatted about her song Boston, and I said like, you know, is that city completely ruined for you now? Will you never be able to return? And she confessed that like the song and the person that that's about wasn't even from Boston. She actually changed it for the sake of storytelling so that no one would know the real place and maybe even just to preserve that memory for herself. Now, typically Taylor is one to lean more into including the truth and specific details, but you never know. Personally, I just think that pub owner doesn't or didn't know anything about this law and just kind of wanted to take advantage of the situation, which It worked, so good for them. Now, if we think back to when we first heard the track list for this album, definitely myself, and I'm sure a lot of you, thought about the black dog as it represents depression and like how this could tie into mental health. We know Taylor has sung about, you know, being with a partner that is struggling with depression, how that impacted their relationship. As well as that, a black dog also, as I mentioned with Sirius Black, is known to be an omen, and a bad one.
Taking the form of a giant spectral dog. It's among the darkest omens in our world. It's an omen of death.
It's said that if you meet the black dog once, it'll bring good luck. If you meet the black dog twice, it'll only bring sorrow. And if you meet the black dog 3 times, it'll bring death. This really sounds like something J.K. Rowling would have written. So interestingly, Taylor in fact says the black dog 3 times on this song. She may in fact be comparing this person to a bad omen that came into her life and ruined it, and honestly still haunts her. Now on that note, a quick PSA, I really don't want to contribute any further to this, but black dogs and black cats are like 10 times less likely to be adopted from shelters because of this whole dark omen, bad luck thing. So I just want to implore you, if you are ever considering adopting a cat or a dog or anything like that, please do take that into consideration and maybe consider bringing one of them home, just because it is very likely that other people won't. And I just want to do my part, if you know, if I'm sharing this story about the omen, that I also share that side of the story and how it kind of has real world ramifications. So yeah, that's all. This all might sound really silly, but I just wanted to make sure I didn't further contribute to that superstition. Okay, so as Taylor sings, I just don't understand.
I just don't understand.
This to me is such a clear callback to the emotions felt on The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived. She is in disbelief that someone who meant so much to her could simply move on like this. She is so affected by them being apart, by them no longer being together, and like feeling the absence of him. She can't fathom how he's so okay. Like, I'm here drowning in grief, just ruminating about our relationship. How are you fine? How are you going out and about and living your life? And it's funny to think about that, because I'm sure in a relationship or a breakdown, both people experience that, just likely at different times. So it's like the night before, she may have been out with her friends having a great time, feeling distracted, feeling happy, and he's seeing that and he's thinking, how are you fine? The next night, she's home, she's alone, she's ruminating, she's letting her thoughts wander a little bit, and seeing that he's out, you can just project so many different things. It's rough, it's rough. How you don't miss me in the black dog when someone plays the starting line.
In the black dog, when someone plays the starting line.
In our previous breakdown video, we discussed the Blue Nile, which Taylor referenced in Guilty as Sin. The starting line is our next band reference here. And to me, this very likely refers to The Best of Me, a song by The Starting Line from about 2007. It's very like pop rock. I'm too young to have like grown up with it, but I've been listening to it lately and it hits. It's great.
Tell me what you thought about when you were gone and so alone. We got older, but we're still young.
That song in particular was covered last year by the 1975.
We never grew out of this feeling that we won't give up. The Starting Line had no right writing that song at 17 years old.
The lyrics to the bridge of that song in particular feel quite relevant. Jumping to conclusions made me fall away from you. I'm so glad the truth has brought back together me and you. And even this, tell me what you thought about while you were gone. There's so many themes on this album about like time spent apart and coming back together after that. This song just feels very parallel to that story. Oh, even this, we never grew out of the feeling that we won't give up. Come on. The fact that we get a nod to The Starting Line in Fresh Out the Slammer makes it pretty clear to me who and what this is about. You jump up, but she's too young to know this song. I just love like what a clear visual picture that paints. You know, it's the classic story. He's moving on with someone younger. I feel like this depiction of his like new lover's age is both a compliment and an insult in one. She's saying like, she's too young to even know this song that you and I loved and bonded over. She doesn't get it. She doesn't get us. She's not on our level. But at the same time, it's maybe an insecurity because, you know, as a woman, we are taught that the most valuable thing we have is essentially our youth. So Taylor could look down upon this new hypothetical lover that is taking her place and say, well, she's too young to understand what we have. But at the same time, maybe that's a virtue that he likes in her. The song was intertwined in the magic fabric of our dreaming.
In the magic fabric of our dreaming.
That is one of those lyrics that Taylor writes that just makes me stop and go, wow. What a way of writing our relationship, our love, our hopes and dreams. And then Old Habits Die Screaming, as we have discussed, is a play on Old Habits Die Hard, meaning like it is just so difficult to break the patterns that we exist in. And here she's like, not only is it hard, I'm screaming through it. These habits I'm trying to break, they're not going down without a fight. And the old habit here is loving him, missing him, remembering him. Oh my gosh, missing him was dark grey all alone, and now it's worse than that. It's just black. I move through the world with the heart broken.
I move through the world with the heart broken.
Initially, I always heard this as I move through the world with a heart broken, referring to just her own. But since looking it up and realizing it was with the heart broken, it's like she is relating herself to the group of people that feel the same way. And that just instantly reminded me of what she said during, I think it was promotion for Red Taylor's version, about how the world is just experienced differently when you are in a place of heartbreak. She's making the distinction that she feels this way and he doesn't. I've always said that the world is a different place for the heartbroken. It moves on a different axis at a different speed. Time skips backwards and forwards fleetingly. The heartbroken might go through thousands of micro emotions a day trying to figure out how to get through it without picking up the phone to hear that old familiar voice. In the land of heartbreak, moments of strength, independence, and devil-may-care rebellion are intricately woven together with grief, paralyzing vulnerability, and hopelessness. Imagining your future might always take you on a detour back to the past. I am still, after what, 18 years, rendered speechless by this woman's writing. That's not even part of a song. That was just like an Instagram post. We are so lucky to be alive at the same time as Taylor Swift. This is truly a once in a, I'm not even gonna say generation, lifetime talent. And I do still think she is underrated. Like, I know she is truly the most famous pop star of likely all time, but I do still think her songwriting is underrepresented when we talk about how successful and talented and fantastic she is. And while the records are great and the concerts are great, I really hope her legacy that Taylor is known for, beyond kindness and compassion, is her writing. Because, why am I getting emotional? Because it just is so inspiring to me. So yeah, anyway, my longings stay unspoken.
My longings stay unspoken.
This to me is so key if you were questioning where this song comes from, who it could be inspired by, because she still wants this person. You know, it ended without her wanting it to. Her longings stay unspoken. She can't even confess how much she still wants to be with this person. And we all know why. We've heard "But Daddy, I Love Him." She's keeping those longings locked in lowercase inside a vault. She's in agony, but keeping quiet about it. This is not about a relationship that ran its course, the people fell out of love, were no longer serving each other. This is a person that deserted Taylor and she's in agony about it. You said I needed a brave man, then proceeded to play him until I believed it too. He wasn't brave like he promised, it was just a front. Where have we heard this before?
You didn't measure up in any measure of a man.
Even back in the prologue that Taylor wrote, she said, how gallant to save the Empress from her gilded tower, swinging a sword he could barely lift. It really is the worst men she writes the best. The way she can make a diss so poetic and beautiful. This man thinks he is rescuing her, saving her, but he was just as bad, if not worse, than all the ones before. And it also kind of calls back to Hoax. I would normally never think this song or this sentiment could link back to Hoax, because Don't Want No Other Shade of Blue But You seems so clear in its messaging and its muse, but My Smoking Gun does have some interesting parallels on this album. I just don't understand how you don't miss me in the shower and remember how my rain-soaked body was shaking.
How you don't miss me in the shower, how my rain-soaked body was shaking.
This is another line that just conjures up such clear imagery to me. Initially, I did think of the Nashville Rain Show, the show that was postponed until like after midnight. I'm so sorry to any of you that experienced that, but also I'm really not, because you got like my 2 dream surprise songs. I guess you deserved it or whatever. We know Maddie was at this show, he was in the VIP tent. But then I remembered another particular downpour show.
Rainiest rain show that ever rain showed. Ever.
And Taylor actually referred to this one as a shower.
No one ever expects you're gonna basically perform like in a shower.
That exact rain show in Massachusetts is the same show where Taylor said this.
I've just never been this happy in my life, in all aspects of my life ever before. It's not just the tour, it's like, I don't know, I just sort of feel like my life finally feels like it makes sense.
And then went on to play Question.
Good girl, sad boy, big city, wrong choice.
Just interesting connection of events there. This next part really just ties in so well to The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived to me. Do you hate me? Was it hazing? For a cruel fraternity I pledged.
Do you hate me? Was it hazing? For a cruel fraternity I pledged.
She's literally going through all of the potential possible excuses and reasons for how and why this happened, because like Smallest Man, she's like, I can't understand how you could just do this. If you loved me, you wouldn't put me through what you're putting me through. I need to come up with another reason. It's almost like the denial and bargaining stages of grief. Your brain is trying to conceptualize what could be the reason for this happening. Anything else just doesn't make sense. Like in Smallest Man, was any of it true? These two songs are so parallel. They are sister songs. Fraternity hazing is where you are essentially put through a series of awful tests to see if you're like worthy enough of being accepted into this family, into this connection. You have to really earn it. And she's asking like, is this what I signed up for? And then the heartbreaking confession that even if it was, she would still do it again. 6 weeks of breathing clean air. I still miss the smoke.
6 weeks of breathing clean air. I still miss the smoke.
Interestingly, not our first reference to smoke on this album.
Smoke cloud billows out his mouth like a freight train through a small town.
I guess it could also be the smoke since, you know, her bed sheets are ablaze. Fiery smoke that created. But the smoke is also used colloquially for London. But most of all, I think probably similar to you, reminded me of two songs, Daylight and Clean.
Clear in the air, breathed in the smoke. Just because you're clean don't mean you don't miss it.
I think that just kind of perfectly sums this up. 6 weeks of breathing clean air. I still miss the smoke. She's like, I'm free from this person. I'm moving forward, making healthier choices, but I still long for my vices. I forgot to mention, but I really love the use of smoke to like represent this person, because when you think about if you're around a smoker or a campfire, how it gets embedded into every part of you. It's in your clothes, it's in your hair. Even if you try to avoid or escape it, there will be little lasting memories of it everywhere. Were you making fun of me with some esoteric joke?
Were you making fun of me with some esoteric joke?
Esoteric means like knowledge that only a certain select few people are in on. So it's kind of like, were you in on something that I just didn't know about? Were you sent by someone who wanted me dead? Now I want to sell my house and set fire to all my clothes.
I wanna sell my house and set fire to all my clothes.
And hire a priest to come and exorcise my demons. Any kind of hard life change, I feel like this is just so relatable to. And Taylor even alluded to this on the voice memo about Florida.
I think when you go through a heartbreak, there's a part of you that thinks, I want a new name. I want a new life. I don't want anyone to know where I've been or know me at all.
That acute pain of loss and grief, and how you want to just wipe the slate clean. You can't even bear these feelings anymore. But you're willing to give up the distant happy memories that you had to just like start fresh. And I feel like only once you've felt that low in any sense of the emotion can you understand like the desire for essentially a lobotomy. You're like, take all of it away. I don't want to feel this anymore. Like an exorcism to remove all traces of this person from your mind, because she's like, I'm not powerful enough to do it. I need to hire someone that specializes in these supernatural abilities to take this away. You know, also very much Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, or when Damon died and Elena had to get Alaric to remove all of her memories of him. But like, that was so unfair that she got to do that, and like most people don't get that option. It didn't work out that well in the end for her anyway, but that urge that Elena had, the reason she did it is the exact same thing that Taylor is talking about. Needing someone else to come in and take this pain away from her. Oh, and you guys know I love all of the religious references we get on this album, whether from a place of hope or deconstruction. I just think it is so meaty and interesting. And here is where I think the initial concept of the black dog kind of comes into play, whether it's that dark omen or the depression itself. It's like something that is clouding your entire existence. When you are so unbelievably sad, you feel like you're possessed by it, like it has taken host over your body and you're not in control anymore. The memories and the grief are so all-consuming. Oh, it's just the worst feeling that, you know, that maybe the only way she can rid herself of this pain is either an exorcism or death. Even if I die screaming, she just wants it gone. And then we have one of the best lines, and I hope it's shitty, in the Black Dog.
And I hope it's shitty in the black dog.
The progression from Speak Now, the album, which at the time was very much like, I'm not holding back, I'm speaking up, I'm saying what I feel. Like, it was very unhinged, although I can't really say that because her first album was incredibly unhinged. But like, it was a very bold album at the time. On that album, she said, I hope it's nice where you are. Now this time, she says, I hope it's shitty where you are. I hope it sucks. Taylor, I'm so proud of you for that, because you don't have to forgive and you don't have to forget. Another progression here is from the magic fabric of our dreaming.
Magic fabric of our dreaming.
To the tragic fabric of our dreaming.
Tragic fabric of our dreaming.
I love when Taylor Allison Swift changes just one word to like move the story along. So effective every time. And funnily enough, she used this exact same wordplay in 2012 back on Red.
A beautiful magic love there. Beautiful tragic love.
Because tail between your legs, you're leaving. She's calling him a coward. He's slinking away, ghosting her. Like, tail between your legs means you did something wrong and you know it and you're ashamed. Maybe he presented this strong, protective front, like a big dog, but now he's just slinking away. A coward. Sirius Black would never. I still can't believe it. Old habits die screaming. The old habit here, to me, is hope. She still can't fully fathom that they are over, that he would leave her, desert her, and like just abandon this love that they had, because to her, loving him is just so natural. That habit is so ingrained. Believing in him is what comes easy. That's the old habit, and it's gonna die screaming. Ah, the fact that the scream starts out so loud, so strong, almost animalistic in like the growl it possesses, and then by the end, softly dies out. You could look at it like it softens because she's healing, or perhaps she's simply losing the energy to keep going. What an incredible song. I feel very happy with my ranking of that. You guys might know from my previous deep dive videos, I like to share one lyric or line from the song that I think is kind of like a thesis statement that represents the entire song. In this video, I'm actually gonna ask you guys to do that because I'm curious to hear what you think without me like clouding your judgment at all. I have my own, which maybe I could leave in the comments. Yeah, I would just love to hear what you think for each of these songs. Yeah, let me know. Next up we have I'm Gonna Get You Back.
Decided yet, but I'm gonna get you back.
Obviously, this song approaches a similar concept we have seen covered before about a relationship that you are just not over, but you can't quite decide how you feel about it. I mean, love and hate are two emotions that are very, very similar and close to one another. The line can get blurred sometimes. It is just caring about someone a lot. And in this song, we explore the feelings of both. Like she's saying, I don't know how I want things to end with us, but I know I'm not done with you yet. So obviously this is a similar concept to Olivia Rodrigo's song, Get Him Back, I think it's called, but it's not the first time we've seen this concept explored. Fiona Apple had a song called Get Him Back, which was essentially the same thing. I think it is just such a great idea for a song. The idea that I feel like it's a concept that isn't really explored enough because those feelings aren't always so black and white. It's not always, I hate you, you're the smallest man who ever lived, like go away. And it's not always, come back, be here. You know, sometimes there is a lot of murky in between and you switch back and forth in the span of 2 seconds. And to me, Taylor has explored this in the most perfect, sexy, fun way. The first thing we need to discuss is the title. Interestingly, it is stylized completely unlike the rest of the album, all in lowercase with no spaces whatsoever. To me, this is absolutely a callback to another song that uses those same two choices stylistically, Falling For You by the 1975. So the opening of this song sounds very similar to another song. I'm just gonna play the opening few seconds of this song. I personally think that could be a reference. Now, the song's title itself is very intentional and deliberate, of course. So this song, Falling For You, Maddie actually sang to Taylor, pretty much serenaded her at a 1975 concert in 2014. It's crazy how far technology has come since then. Like the camera quality from only 10 years ago, it is so bad. Thankfully, all of the technology we take to concerts has improved so much. Phone cameras, digital cameras, and thankfully ear protection, like Loop earplugs. Thank you to everyone's favorite sponsor, Loop earplugs, for partnering with me again today. I'm your honorary big sister, so I truly hope that you take my advice not only in the girl talk videos where I talk about boys, dating, sex, things like that, but also things like this. You know, I harp on about using protection fan, and this counts for that too. If you love concerts and music as much as I do, this is something that I actually want you guys to take really seriously. I know you don't want to end up not being able to listen to your favorite song, hear your loved ones' voices, or enjoy concerts. Thankfully, we have loop earplugs. I bought my first pair of loops back in January before seeing the Eras tour, and since then I have converted all of my friends not only to the loop experience but also quiet. All of my friends like me love to travel or have anxiety. So both are great. So if you are going to see the Eras tour this year or any concerts at all, you need to get loop earplugs. I have worn my loop experiences to every single concert since the Eras tour, and it has made a world of difference. My friend and I went to a Taylor Swift club night last month, and both of us didn't think to bring our loop earplugs. We were in pain that whole night, in pain the following days, and we are never making that mistake again. And as someone that experiences often debilitating anxiety symptoms, like physical anxiety symptoms, when my brain or body gets overwhelmed, the loop quiet, absolute game changer. It's like putting my brain on quiet mode. It is just so nice, and I'm going traveling soon. So for like airplanes or like long bus journeys, I just can't wait to use these. Check out the Loop website and figure out which set best fits your needs. Right now they have some really cool limited edition colors, so jump on that while they have them, and you can use my code LOOPXALLY10 for 10% off. Thank you again to Loop Earplugs for sponsoring this part of the video. I love you guys. Truly, I will never go back to life unprotected. All right, let's get back to the video. Let me say something controversial yet brave. The lilac short skirt.
Lilac short skirt, the one that fits me like skin.
I don't think that that's the skirt we see in the Fortnite YouTube short. That like flowy, frilly, pop flex tennis skirt, it's not skin tight. I think it's one we haven't seen. That said, I do still really want that skirt. I'm very easily influenced, and it's a beautiful color. One of my favorite lyrics on this song is, whether I'm gonna be your wife or gonna smash up your bike.
Whether I'm gonna be your wife or gonna smash up your bike,
Again, this calls back to a 1975 song.
All we need is my bike and your enormous house.
This whole song is just kind of like wordplay, double meanings, and Taylor flipping back and forth between how she feels about this person. I really love You Were Never Not Mine, because it's like, wow, in her head this entire time, she has kind of held on to this attachment with someone that she used to have. I mean, and we explore that on so many different songs in this album, but like, I think it just re-emphasizes how strong that connection was. And like, to this day, I still get comments saying the album isn't about what you think it's about, or like on my breakdown, people think that she wasn't with someone long enough to write these songs. I do think it's a little bit invalidating, to be completely honest. I think you really have to surrender to the fact that we don't know anything. Like, we know 1% of this person's life that they've chosen to share. We know Taylor has written songs about people she knew for one night, and fewer songs than we expected for a breakup after 6.5 years.
Someone can walk into your life, have a conversation with you for like a few minutes, and all of a sudden when they walk away, I'll have a melody in my head. Then, you know, I could have a whole like really significant relationship, but there was something that was not complex enough about it to inspire music.
There are no rules here, and I just think the songs are more enjoyable if you go in open-minded, you know? I also think life is more fun if you go in open-minded and allow yourself to be impacted by things that may even be fleeting. But also, that line, "You were never not mine," reminds me of August.
'Cause you were never mine.
By the way, happy August, guys. Small talk, big love, act like I don't care what you did.
Small talk, big love, act like I don't care what you did.
This reminds me so much of 1989 songwriting Taylor, like short, snippy lyrics that just really pack a punch and tell you a big part of the story, but in like an Instagram caption kind of way. You know, small talk because they aren't together anymore, they can't have that intimate bond, but big love, that still remains with them. It's just unspoken. Act like I don't care what you did, because I think she, as we see throughout this album, would be willing to overlook it and press that reset button. She would happily pledge that fraternity again. I think she would very willingly put on her poker face and pretend like he didn't hurt her. I'm an Aston Martin that you steered straight into the ditch, then ran and hid.
I'm an Aston Martin that you steered straight into the ditch.
So we just established before that he was leaving with his tail between his legs. Taylor comparing herself to an Aston Martin is like her saying, I'm the best thing at this party. I am a luxury, expensive sports car. I am high value. And you treated me like a test drive, just crashed me into a wall. Quite similar to you crashed my party and your rental car. Essentially, he was reckless with her. Took her heart for a test drive and smashed it all up. And I'm an Aston Martin that you steered straight into the ditch is really giving, maybe this thing was a masterpiece till you tore it all up. Love that parallel. I do also think this could be Taylor poking fun at the rumors she was dating the Formula One driver, as he drove for Aston Martin. I really love to think that she heard those rumors and was like, that's so funny, I'm gonna put that in a song. And in fact, this kind of also calls back to Red, where she compared loving someone and being with someone to driving a new Maserati down a dead end street.
Loving him is like driving a new Maserati down a dead end street.
It was luxurious and exhilarating, but it was going nowhere fast. You know, it was destined to either stop or crash. But I'll tell you one thing, honey, I can take the upper hand and touch your body. You guys know from my ranking how I feel about this song. The wordplay is the reason why. Actually, no, the melody also is great. I just love this, like the upper hand, meaning she's in control. She has the upper hand here, you know, she's the one controlling the play, but then turning it into a literal hand, and I can like touch your body with that. It's just so good. Similarly, whether I'm gonna flip you off or pull you into the closet.
Whether I'm gonna flip you off or pull you into the closet.
I love this so much too. They're both very youthful physical motions. Whether I'm gonna give you the finger or take you, grab you, and pull you into 7 minutes in heaven. Like, these are such teenage emotions, which I think kind of represent this song quite well. And it also ties into the dumb house party that she refers to on this song.
Flip the script and leave you like a dumb house party.
This bridge.
I can feel it coming, humming in the way you move. Even if it's handcuffed, I'm leaving here with you.
The way she sings, I can feel it coming, humming in the way you move. Like, I get a visceral sensation from that. To me, she's saying this person, the connection they have is so energetic that she can like physically feel their presence, you know? I love say you got somebody, I'll say I've got someone too.
Say you got somebody, I'll say I got someone too.
Whether it's true or not, but it's what she would say in response to hearing that maybe he's moved on. She's like, yeah, well, me as well. But since we're on even footing then, it's okay, you know? It also kind of reminds me a lot of Style, like you know, the fact that this relationship just goes round and round, which has a similar theme of just like not being done with someone, but also the line of, I heard that you've been out and about with some other girl. Even if it's handcuffed, I'm leaving here with you.
Even if it's handcuffed, I'm leaving here with you.
Even if we're breaking every rule that the world is telling me not to break, I don't care. I choose you and I want to be with you. And obviously this calls back to so many references to that on this album. Bygones will be bygone eras. One of my favorite lines on this whole album because of the wordplay here.
Bygones will be bygone eras, fading into veins.
So it's a play on bygones will be bygones, right? Which is a phrase that kind of means say la vie. What's in the past is in the past. Let's move on. Let's not worry about it. You know, a notion to say, let's just forget about it and move forward. Now, a bygone era is a period a long, long time ago. It is outdated and maybe irrelevant or very different to what we're experiencing now. And then era is, of course, a word that Taylor Swift invented. And she owns that word. Her combining that and then saying it's fading into grey, to me is like she's taking all of this black and white that their relationship had and saying, I can completely forget it. That can just fade out into a hazy memory if you're willing to join me and move forward. And then we broke all the pieces but still want to play the game. Obviously just incredibly blank space coded. Also obviously works well with my boy only breaks his favorite toys. And then I also just love pick your poison, babe. I'm poison either way. I think it just calls back to this notion that she believes whether you stay with me forever or leave me and I'm not a part of your life, either of those choices will ruin your life.
Gonna smash up your bike, I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna get you.
It's just so fun. Bring back fun songs.
Whatever happened to fun?
Next up we have the Albatross.
She's the Albatross, she is here to destroy you.
Just because I wasn't very kind to this song in my album ranking does not mean I don't appreciate it. I truly do love the lyrics of this song. Anyway, we'll get into that. I don't remember if I said this in a previous video, but this song is very Evermore to me sonically. Like it fits in so well with like Ivy and Willow. It just has that same kind of energy. In fact, it's kind of like if Blank Space was on Evermore. Like if Evermore Taylor wrote Blank Space, it's this song. That said, it kind of touches on themes we see a lot of in Reputation, like the world's perception of Taylor and how that impacts her relationships. I was actually going to make a video on how I really think the Tortured Poets Department and Reputation are sister albums. They are like truly parallels to one another. I just didn't have the time, but maybe keep that idea in mind as you're next listening to the album. You know, just keep your ears peeled for little references and connotations that connect those two albums. I mean, especially songs like Who's Afraid of Little Old Me, Cassandra. Obviously Cassandra has the Mad Woman ties, but Thank You Amy. Yeah, and then of course this song. It also sonically, I guess along with like Willow and Ivy, has a little bit of Safe and Sound to it, which I don't think I ranked that high in my ranking either. Both Safe and Sound and this song do kind of give me lullaby energy, but maybe in like a slightly sad way, you know? Some important history and backstory for this song. The poet Samuel Taylor Coleridge inspired the colloquialism, you know, an albatross around my neck, in Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, published in 1798. And a lot of you mentioned in the comments that, sorry, I just need to turn the heat up on my heated blanket. A lot of you mentioned that you had studied this in school, but essentially it is a tale of morality and choice and consequence. In this story, we hear about a sailor who shot an albatross at sea because he believed it was a bad omen. And interesting that this is our second reference to like a bad omen on even just this half of the album, with the black dog and now the albatross. Now, of course, the albatross was not a bad omen, but in fact the act of killing it was, and subsequently inflicted a curse upon the entire ship. The sailor then had to wear the dead albatross around his neck as a sign of repenting, and throughout the story tells the tale of his mistake. So the bird symbolizes like a hasty judgment and a rash decision that caused long-lasting and devastating consequences. It's essentially a cautionary tale of acting upon what is not necessarily truthful information and the outcomes of that. Another important walk down memory lane. After announcing the Albatross at the Eras Tour, Taylor then performed Coney Island. Now, you guys might remember I spoke about this connection in my tracklist predictions video, I think it was. Coney Island and the Albatross had some interesting history. In 1903, and I will just pause for you to note that 1903 equals 13, because of course it does, there was a famous fire at the Albatross Hotel in Coney Island. The fire was allegedly started by one of the hotel's employees due to unrequited love, and this burned down the entire Bowery. Once again, learning so much. This is a very fascinating part of Coney Island history that I never would have thought to know about. And now let's think about what song Taylor played after announcing the Albatross. That's right, Coney Island. I rest my case. We begin with, wise men once said, wild winds are death to the candle.
Wise men once said, wild winds are death to the candle.
So I read this as Taylor is the wild wind. You know, she's the wind in their free-flowing sails. She is unruly. She's as powerful as Mother Nature and has the ability to take a calm, steady man and simply blow him out. It is a warning essentially against being associated with her. Don't date Taylor or she'll ruin your life. And that is of course not at all a new or original sentiment.
Taylor Swift, I do not date these women. They would write a song about your ass.
It's sometimes hard to get people to come into your world because I don't know, if I hung out with you, I'd be a little afraid you were going to write a song about me.
A rose by any other name is a scandal. This is of course a play on the Shakespearean line from Romeo and Juliet. A rose by any other name would smell as sweet. Essentially it's saying, regardless of what you called it, a rose is still a rose. So here she's saying, a scandal is a scandal. No matter how you try to spin it, the outcome is the same. Cautions issued, he stood shooting the messengers.
Cautions issued, he stood shooting the messenger.
He simply ignored all of the warnings about not being with her. She's the albatross. She is here to destroy you.
She's the albatross. She is here to destroy you.
Combined with cross your thoughtless heart, I feel like she's almost taking pity on him for being naive, or like looking out for him and praying over him for being like, I hope this works out well for you and I hope you prove them all wrong for taking that chance on being with me. His decision to not heed their warnings, hopefully he won't pay the price. Wise men once said, one bad seed kills the garden.
Wise men once said, one bad seed kills the garden.
Now, I wish that my brain did not go to Pretty Little Liars here, but of course it did.
A penmanship medal. That's why they call her the bad seed.
Is there a reason that you picked the bad seed? It's one of my favorites. The theme is so inspiring.
Inspiring?
I'm fascinated by the nature of evil.
But if it didn't, I simply wouldn't be me. The concept here is, of course, that one bad seed needs to be weeded out before it gets the chance to destroy the whole bunch. So they want to preemptively shoot her down and take her out before she has the chance to like ruin these great men. And that ties in so well with one less temptress, one less dagger to sharpen.
One less temptress, one less dagger to sharpen.
The use of the word temptress just is so perfect to me. It really makes me think of, in a lot of Christian faiths and churches, the way that women are often shamed for dressing or acting in a way that might tempt men to act out or to sin, rather than the men being the focus of the blame or the teaching. Take that moment to be like, okay, well, how can we learn from this to look inward and take responsibility? It's those evil temptresses are trying to make me sin. They need to be taken out. So these wise men are like, well, she could ruin us. She has the potential to make us do bad things, even though, you know, we control our own behaviors and we are responsible for our own actions. They're like, we simply have no choice but to kill her. It just ties back into, like, if you think about the misogyny, especially of the 2010s, Taylor Swift is boy crazy. Taylor Swift only writes about breakups, as if that's not what every single songwriter does. The way her songwriting was devalued and undermined as like a reflex or a defense mechanism. Taylor has said her whole career, if guys don't want me to write bad songs about them, they shouldn't do bad things. It's not that hard. Locked me up in towers, but I'd visit in your dreams.
Locked me up in towers, but I'd visit in your dreams.
What a callback to Fresh Out the Slammer, being locked up, but also Guilty as Sin, I dreamed of cracking locks. Taylor in this song goes from saying she's the Albatross to I'm the Albatross. We're changing, what is it? Not perspective. Sometimes I'm really bad with these words, guys. I'm so sorry. Is it tense? We're changing tenses? I wonder if we're seeing the warnings given to different people in her life and how they responded to it. Because Locked Me Up in Towers does really make me think of the Time Person of the Year interview where she said, you know, all those years locked up, I'll never get that time back. Devils that you know, this is another like common phrase that Taylor has woven into her songs here. Phrase is like rather the devil you know than the devil you don't, saying it's better to pick the one you know rather than an even more worrisome unknown. She's the death you chose, you're in terrible danger.
She's the death you chose, you're in terrible danger.
Once again, this is everyone saying, well, it's your fault for getting entangled with someone we warned you about. Why would you date Taylor Swift, who's known for this reputation that she has? And everyone's saying, we told you you'd be cursed. The bridge on this song is hands down my favorite part. When the sky rains fire on you and your persona non grata.
Sky rains fire on you, your persona non grata.
So the sky raining fire is like a biblical reference to the ending of days, like the end of the world essentially. So she's saying when your world comes crashing down, it feels like everything is over, when likely the world turns on you because of your association with me. When you're shunned and unwanted, I'll tell you I've been there too and none of it matters. I will stick by you because I've been there, I've been through that, and I will help you. It's quite interesting to think about how that ties into last summer when like I never really heard anything about Maddie Healy, and this could just be my own social circles and my own news cycle, but if he is who he is or who the media depicted him to be, that never seemed to be an issue until Taylor was dating him, and then suddenly it was like her fault for dating him. I don't know, it's just very interesting that being associated with her put that spotlight onto him, which then put the spotlight back onto her. Taylor knows what it is like for an entire world of strangers who don't know her at all to have an opinion, to have an assumption and think they know who she is. She's been through that, she understands how it feels, which I can't even imagine. I don't know how you could deal with that, like reading things about you that simply aren't true and being like, oh well, I'm just gonna go on with my life. Like, I think that's a real strength that we should all aspire to have. But she's saying like the day that this inevitably happens, because it will, oh my god, what did she say in Peace? The rain is always gonna come if you're standing with me. This is the sister song to Peace. She's saying when that happens, as it inevitably will if you're choosing to be by my side, I've got you. Wise men once read fake news and they believed it. I love the call out here to be like, you guys think you know everything and you simply don't. And I think it's really hard in this day and age when, I mean, there's media literacy, there's critical thinking, there's all these things that have to come into play, but I feel like it's really easy to look at those kind of silly tabloid magazines that post sensationalized headlines. We can look at that and be like, well, obviously that's fake. That's very clear clickbait. But things that are presented to us as fact, you know, we often accept them as just that. When in reality, you can spread whatever you want to spread online and people will believe it. I would love to spread a rumor about myself. I've mentioned a few times my history with Grace Sloan Memorial Hospital, or Seattle Grace, mercy death. Let's please spread the idea that I went to medical school and I dropped out to become a YouTuber. She's aware of the gossip, the rumors, the things that are said about her, and additionally, the way that she knows that will impact how other people see her. Like, not just fans, but also people she's gonna come into contact with, her peers, her potential love interests. Imagine knowing that someone you might have a crush on, someone you might have a blind date with, not that she could probably have a blind date, but they might hear a fake story about you and believe it, and you have no control over that. Again, one of the perils of fame that people should never have to deal with. But she mentions he is sleeping soundly.
You were sleeping soundly when they dragged you from your bed.
know, the Sarahs and Hannahs are up late with their pitchforks, yelling about her, spreading rumors, gossip, whatever. And he could not care less. He's sleeping soundly in his bed, aka not paying any mind to that drama. Now she crosses her own heart and spreads her wings like a parachute, swooping in to protect him and their love. By the end of the song, it's pretty clear. Ultimately, Taylor is the Albatross, and she always was. Being with her ultimately caused like the downfall of these men, but not for the reason they think. If you remember the story, the Albatross itself wasn't bad luck. It was the killing of it that resulted in this downfall. If they, whether that is the media or potential, you know, ex-partners, had simply left Taylor alone, allowed her to fly freely alongside of them, unharmed, they would be fine. I mean, just look at Taylor Lautner. This ties in quite well with a lot of Taylor's songs about fame. What does she say in Anti-Hero? She's the monster on the hill. The Albatross is a massive bird.
I really don't think I've delved this far into my insecurities in this detail before. You know, I struggle a lot with the idea that, you know, my life has become unmanageably sized and that I, you know, not to sound too dark, but like I just struggle with the idea of like not feeling like a person.
I think here that works metaphorically in terms of her success, her fame. Like she is overwhelming and likely to a lot of men probably find that quite intimidating. So what do? They shoot her down. It's kind of like tall poppy syndrome, this thing we have in Australia where if one poppy, you know, one flower grows taller than the rest of the bunch, we don't like that and we pull them down. I really like this interpretation I read on someone's blog. They said, would anyone choose to fly alongside this creature who is in constant danger of assassination? Doesn't that make them the target too? Again, this just ties in so well to peace. Even the archer, who could ever leave me, but who could stay? I think we can all pretty clearly say that Taylor has, I'm gonna say, met her match in someone that really respects her, admires her, and is not at all intimidated by her success. The way that Taylor has been loved and celebrated over the past year, it's unlike anything we've seen before, whether that's anything she's experienced before, but it's really beautiful. And by the end of this song, she's saying, I'll shield you from all the hate, I will protect you with my big, you know, massive wingspan, but I think ultimately she won't need to. Quick intermission, I'm gonna grab some water and I'll be right back. And we are back. Thank you for that little intermission. It's been a couple days, you can probably tell because this plant is not doing so hot, but don't worry, she bounces back. All right, well, let's get back into it with Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus.
Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus.
This is simply one of the most Aaron Dessner songs I've ever heard. The similarities to songs like Cowboy Like Me, Champagne Problems, oh, the lights are out. Like he really put his entire... Now I do have a slight amount of clowning for this song, but I'll save it to the end. I'll get through my proper work of breakdown and then share, well, you'll get there, we'll see. Okay, so let's start with the song's title, Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus. I saw a lot of people online speculating, theorizing that these refer to potential baby names that Taylor and a partner had maybe discussed or had planned out. I personally have a very different read on this song and on that title. I will say it's interesting that those names are only mentioned once, yet became the title of the song. I think that's a really interesting stylistic choice. To me, those names aren't necessarily names that hold real significance to Taylor, but rather represent the entire world of possibilities of who her, you know, ex-partner might be moving on from her with. It doesn't matter if it's Chloe or if a Sam or a Sophia or a Marcus, any of these people would hurt just the same. So to me, I just think they represent hypothetical people that her ex-partner could be moving on with. Whether it's Chloe or Sam, Sophia, Marcus, anyone, it would hurt just the same. So these names could have been chosen just kind of pure chance. They could just be names that she liked that fit well. But given that this album is kind of referencing poets all throughout it on almost every single song, for example, we've had Dylan Thomas, Patti Smith, Aristotle. We just discussed The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. I wonder if this title is almost a play on the poem by E.E. Cummings called Maggie and Millie and Molly and May. It's just an interesting like format to name it that way. Thematically, there is absolutely, well, yeah, there's not really any resemblance or like thematic overlap, but that title just stood out to be structured in such a similar way. If we're following that path, that this song title, you know, could be another way to tie in different tortured poets. These are my guesses as to where Taylor may have got these names from. But I'm very keen to hear your suggestions and thoughts as to who these could be referencing as well. So Chloe is a Greek goddess, and given that we have Cassandra later on this album, I thought that could be a nice little nod. Samuel could link back to the song we just discussed, as The Rime of the Ancient Mariner was written by Samuel Taylor Coleridge, which gave us the metaphor of the albatross. Sophia means wisdom in Greek. That was kind of the best that I could find for that. And then Marcus was the Roman who sacrificed himself to Hades, which is interesting when we think about the lyrics and imagery of Taylor calling a priest to exorcise her demons. Anyway, these could all be big reaches, but let me know your thoughts. So these lyrics: your hologram stumbled into my apartment, hands in the hair of somebody in darkness.
Your hologram stumbled into my apartment, hands in the hair of somebody in darkness.
So the word hologram really sticks out to me. I think that is referring to the fact that there is not someone there present in person with her. Hologram, digital, makes me think of like you're doom scrolling and you see your ex on your phone. Whether you're seeing a photo or a video of them out with someone new, or kind of tying back to the black dog, are you seeing their physical location on a map with someone new? I think it really just represents like imagining the worst, hoping for the best but expecting the worst, and ultimately being powerless to do anything about it. As the decade would play us for fools is a very telling lyric. I think this shows Taylor and this person have a long spanning history. Things that like timing maybe never quite worked out right. They were played for fools, weaving in and out of each other's lives, always being aware of one another. Additionally, this could also refer to like the coming decade and how that would play them for fools as well, always somewhat lingering in the back of each other's mind. You know, we know Taylor and Maddie have a long, complicated history that began essentially a decade ago. Yeah, and to me, this song just ties in so well with things like The One, where it's just someone that was always in your peripheral vision, orbiting your existence, and things just never quite aligned. You saw my bones out with somebody new.
You saw my bones out with somebody new.
So to me, that means physically she was there, her body was there, but her heart just wasn't in it. You know, this new person hasn't captured her soul the way that they did. I've seen people saying that this is kind of a more literal lyric, like it refers to the 1989 era. Yeah, like I guess you can probably interpret what I'm saying, but like, you saw my bones out. Taylor has obviously discussed her eating disorder that was quite rampant around this time. I simply don't think it's referring to that at all. I really just think it's a more poetic way to say that she was with someone new, but perhaps feeling quite lifeless without him, like a shell of her former self. Someone who seemed like he would have bullied you in school. Such a funny lyric.
Who seemed like he would have bullied you in school.
I mean, especially if we compare her current partner to kind of the past decade of like skinny, brooding British men to now like a typical bro-y kind of popular high school jock, essentially. Twice the size of most of them. Especially love that it seemed like, it's not that he could have or would have bullied you in school, but it seems like if we're going just off physical appearances and snap judgments, I'd be scared if I was them. That's based on an outsider's perception. It's not the truth.
Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen.
When in reality, I think if you got to know, or even if you don't know Travis, but from everything I've observed, it's pretty clear that he's like a big softie. And I have to imagine that moving on with someone that seems like he could have bullied your ex in high school, knowing that he wouldn't, has to be kind of fulfilling in some way. Like, I don't know, does it feel like an upgrade? I sure hope so. Alexa, play Lost the Breakup by Maisie Peters. Then we have If You Want to Break My Cold, Cold Heart, Just Say I Loved You the Way That You Were. One of the worst lines on this entire album. And by that I mean, it is just so painful, especially when it ties into If You Want to Tear My World Apart, Just Say You've Always Wondered. This is a sister song to something like The One, or anytime she's wondered about an ex and thought, I wonder if they think of me too. Should we give things another go? Really a sister song to question as well. Honestly, it even ties back into the black dog with, was it hazing? Break rule, fraternity, I pledge, and I still mean it. Being like, if you wanted to give it another go, if you'd give me that other chance, even though it would probably hurt me, I'm down. She was so hurt by them, but would give anything to hear them say they wanted her back. You know, it's like when you feel like you're moving on, but if that person reached out and said, actually, I think we should give it another go, all of that progress and growth would be out the window and she'd be right back with them where she started. Then You Turned Me Into an Idea of Sorts is very the idea you had of me. Who was she? Did he see her as this manic pixie dream girl and project different ideas or a future onto her that wasn't real? Hence why hearing I loved you the way that you were would be so impactful and devastating, especially since it didn't work out. You needed me, but you needed drugs more.
You needed me, but you needed drugs more.
Is like such a raw, vulnerable lyric. I feel like I can barely touch on this. Yeah, and I won't do this justice at all, but it is such a specific kind of pain to be in love with an addict or to share your life with an addict. And especially if you have to watch them choose this substance over you and your relationship and the health of you guys together. Obviously, I can't even fathom how hard it is for the actual addict themselves. And hits home for any of you on either side of things. I'm so sorry. I'm just sending you the biggest hug. I think that line really caught me off guard and took my breath away a little bit. Definitely one of the most open moments on the album for sure. And again, it's just like you can love someone all you want. You can try to help them, to save them, to fix them. But if they aren't willing to put in that same effort, there's not really anything else you can do. I changed into goddesses, villains, and fools.
I changed into goddesses, villains, and fools.
Very interesting line to me. If I were just looking at those words and forced to share, you know, the first thing that came to mind, it's obviously 1989, Reputation, and Lover. And funnily enough, I think we kind of see these three things shown in the Karma music video.
I changed into goddesses, villains, and fools. rules.
1989 being goddesses, because this represents when Taylor was just truly on top of the world. Well, for the first time, that is anyway. Villains is Reputation, for obvious reasons. And finally, we follow along with Lover, because how many times in media, in music and art, have people who believe in love been painted as fools? You know, think of the catchphrases, fools rush in, you know, be careful with love. Don't be a love-struck fool. I think here she's even reflecting and calling herself a fool, like being like, how could you be so silly? Maybe not from a place of judgment, but sorrow, regret, just looking at her past self and being like, you were so in love and you had no idea what was coming. So then by Folklore, Evermore and Midnights, she no longer had to change into these different personas. I think she was being a lot more forthright about how she felt about this person. Like, look at the songs we have on those albums. The One, Cowboy Like Me, almost like half of Midnights, all of the songs I've mentioned in previous parts of this breakdown. By then, she was simply digging up the grave another time. The sad thing about this is that she's almost confessing how hard she had to try to move on from this person. She was continuously reinventing herself in the hopes of finding a version of herself that no longer missed him. We have changed plans and lovers and outfits and rules.
Changed plans and lovers and outfits and rules.
Again, this is just such a clear reference to Taylor's specific career and even personal life. We've talked at length about how she has had to continually reinvent herself and has done so very successfully, switching genres, aesthetics, stylistic aesthetic, partners even. It's almost like she is Chloe or Sam or Sophia or Marcus, just continually evolving into different versions of herself, trying to outrun this heartbreak.
All to outrun my desertion of you.
So with those three word choices to me representing 1989, Reputation and Lover, it's so bizarre to me that like 1989 and Lover are only one album apart. Anyway, this could indicate that it was someone she met before the 1989 era, or gave her heart to before the 1989 era. It's not my personal theory, but it could work. Okay, then the bridge. I crashed into you like so many wrecks do.
Back to the moment I crashed into you like so many wrecks do.
We have so many references on this album to crashing and simultaneously describing both of them as complete wrecks. I mean, crashing into him tonight, to me that pretty well parallels this, and even the prologue of the album. Too impaired by my youth to know what to do.
Too impaired by my youth to know what to do.
Like she said, the decade played them for fools. They met over 10 years ago. You might even say, we were both young when I first saw you. Was she too young to handle how strong her feelings were? To handle this wreck that she saw him as? I feel like if this is someone that was struggling with addiction and getting caught up in drugs and things that Taylor has always just completely distanced herself from, it's very understandable that you would have absolutely no idea to help someone in that situation. So if I sell my apartment and you have some kids with an internet starlet, this took my brain to two places. The first being Cornelia Street and the notion that if you and someone else were to ever break up after having so many shared memories, just your lives being so intertwined, you would essentially have to sell your apartment, move to Florida even, and just restart because the memory of them would be everywhere. And then secondly, you'll meet some woman on the internet and take her home. Again, we've spoken about that song at great length in these breakdowns, but it's just very interesting how many of these songs tie back to the lingering, wondering, and what ifs about an old flame. Then we have Will That Make Your Memory Fade from This Scarlet Maroon?
Will that make your memory fade from this scarlet maroon?
I guess this is one of the times I do wish I'd filmed my reaction to this song, because hearing her reference maroon, it was unexpected. So scarlet, it was maroon. There are obviously many ways you can interpret this little callback or reference, so I would love to hear what you guys think. My mind kind of goes to how Maroon was a song reflecting on a heartbreak, but now through a new lens, a new perspective, and kind of seeing it for what it truly was, realizing that it wasn't necessarily just this fiery red passion, but rather like a muted, more realistic bloodstained color. And now she has to change her entire life, she feels like, to get over this person, to wipe the memories of them, to make that color fade from her mind, because their ghosts and their holograms are still haunting her, even though she was left. She was marooned. And still at the end of this song, she wonders if he still thinks about her, because she does. I think this song is so relatable and realistic in the sense that it's like looking back on someone, or even a time in your life, even a version of yourself that you had just spent years yearning for and like longing to have or to be. You had so much promise and hope that it would work out. You're in this stage of maybe even denial where like you gave it a shot, it didn't work out, but at the end of the day, you'll always maybe still wonder, what if it had? Compared to the hope that we see on a lot of the songs on the first half of this album, like Fresh Out the Slammer, I Can Fix Him, No Really I Can, until that last line. Even But Daddy I Love Him, this like realization is so sad. Now, of course, the craziest part of this song is that it sounds like, I don't think she technically did, but it sounds like she's sampling Champagne Problems. I also really like Could It Be Enough to Just Float in Your Orbit? Can we watch our phantoms dance like watching wild horses? Like, could we try and be friends just so I don't have to get rid of you from my life? Like, can I hold on to at least that? I think the answer is no. Unfortunately, when you have something this deep or someone hurt you that much, I don't know, at least for the time being, I mean, I'm not telling Taylor what to do with her life. She's doing it well. Would it be enough to just float in your orbit? Like, would that satisfy the longing that I had for us and that life that I'd imagined? Would that make me feel like I had a little piece of it? And I think the answer is no. I think it would make you feel much worse. Okay, so now I'll put my clown hat on and share a theory that I saw online. This does not reflect what I think inspired the song, but I wanted to share these interesting parallels. Just Say I Loved You the Way That You Were, interestingly references parallels I Miss the Old Ways You Didn't Have to Change from Now That We Don't Talk, interestingly the 1989 era. It also parallels, you know, the Just Say You Love Me, I said I love you, you said nothing back, all to outrun my desertion of you and you just watched it. Kind of mirrors I broke my own heart because you were too polite to do it. Her partner just stood there and watched it happen and didn't intervene. And then Two Phantoms. If any of you are Harry Styles fan, you know obviously he has the song Two Ghosts, which has long been theorized to be about Taylor.
The one about Taylor Swift. No! We call it Two Ghosts. We just call it...
I'm going to Capitol.
Who?
I think it's pretty like self-explanatory.
Is it?
Right?
Same lips red, same eyes blue. Same white shirt, couple more tattoos.
I just thought that was funny. Obviously Scarlet Maroon, a lot of people think that Maroon could be about Harry, given, what is it, the one you were dancing with in New York, No Shoes. To Float in Your Orbit, I talked about this in my Harry's House reaction and ranking every Harry Styles song. Harry has a song called Satellite, which is essentially about just existing in someone's orbit, like floating and waiting for them. So that's a fun little parallel. And finally, I Crashed Into You. I give you the infamous snowmobile crash and vehicular manslaughter claims. I'm not saying that our girl Taylor Swift is out here writing about Harry Styles over the past 2 years, but also I could write about him forever, so. Okay, next up we have our honorary second track 5, How Did It End? I swear the lighting just got darker as we're about to discuss this depressing song. Now, along with So Long London, I would say this is one of her most vulnerable songs, which is saying a lot on an album that feels like a raw, open, gaping wound and look into her soul at every turn. Now, I said this in my ranking, but this is the Autopsy song. It opens with, "We hereby conduct this postmortem." When we had heard that line before the album release, it was very in keeping with like the theme that Taylor was putting out to advertise this record with. And I think because I was reacting, I either didn't take it in or didn't have the time to realize that lyric and kind of most of the lyrics we'd seen weren't on the standard album. I'm keen to know if any of you guys picked up on that, like listening to the first standard part of the album. Were you like, hang on, there are all those lyrics that she promoted at like the Spotify event and we haven't heard that? I simply didn't have the time to like even realize that before I saw that the second half was out. But this lyric, when we first saw it in the promotion, was very much in keeping with what we assumed this album would be, which is kind of the breakdown of her 6+ year relationship.
We hereby conduct this postmortem.
A postmortem is an autopsy, a surgery done to determine the cause of death. You know, asking, how did this life end? Here, that death is of their love, their relationship. And whether that is being conducted by us, by the media, by the public, or ultimately by Taylor herself. He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsman.
He was a hothouse flower to my outdoorsman.
Ties into so much of the first half of this album. Only Taylor Swift writes like this, I swear. Here she's saying they were completely opposing forces. They were incompatible. A hothouse flower needs a very specific, sheltered, indoors environment in order to survive. Whereas an outdoorsman wants an adventurous, rugged, exciting life, to be out and about and to be free. Ultimately, they're incompatible. This then continues with, our maladies were such that we could not cure them.
Our maladies were such we could not cure them.
Again, this is really just So Long London 2.0 and You're Losing Me 2.0. Like, maladies means illness, so this ties right back to my face was grey but you couldn't admit that we were sick, and even I stopped CPR, after all it's no use. Taylor has so many times referred to their relationship as something that was dying and she was the only one trying to save it. And it's crazy when we think about the fact that You're Losing Me was written in 2021. And funnily enough, Taylor almost has a run of songs on here that are CPR, but it's interrupted by the bolter. So this song, much like So Long London and You're Losing Me, compares a relationship to a slow fading out, which starkly contrasts most of the other songs on this album, which are more about being abandoned. Come one, come all, it's happening again.
Come one, come all, it's happening again.
Once again here, Taylor is likening her life to the circus. You know, here she's the ringleader, gathering paid audience members to enjoy the public speculation of her breakup as a spectacle. Think about Mirrorball and the way people get high on her pain. And in interviews, Taylor has even said this.
For so much of my life, in the public eye, when I get sad or upset or humiliated or angry or go through a really horrible time, I feel people lean in with like this hunger.
The empathetic hunger descends.
The empathetic hunger descends.
Every part of this line, every word is perfect. Empathetic hunger. Like, it's wrapped in this cloud of empathy, but beneath it is like this fiery, desperate urge and need to know the gossip. And the fact that it descends, like rather than creeping in or even ascending, but rather it comes crashing down onto her. Like an avalanche of fake care. Also, additionally, with hunger, once someone has their fill, once they're satiated, they'll leave her alone. They're not going to stick around and care and help her through it. They just want the juicy details. We learned the right steps to different dances.
We learned the right steps to different dances.
Such a heartbreaking, I was gonna say heartbreaking yet hopeful line. It's not, it's just sad. They did all of the right things. She couldn't have put up a better fight for their love. They sadly were just on different paths. There's a real sadness in that, knowing that nothing you could have done differently would have resulted in a different outcome. But I wonder if that comes with a sense of relief too. Does that somewhat put an end to the wondering? I think that's why, whereas on the other songs with different muses, we hear about all of this still wondering and thinking about them and kind of will always have that what if, whereas with this relationship, she knows I did everything I could. Neither person is at fault. It just could not have ever worked out long term, and they would always need to follow different journeys. I don't know, I think I would find comfort in that and closure, and I think that's why, you know, people ask where are all the Joe songs? Well, A, they're on Midnights, but B, there's not that much to say when you gave it everything you had and it just wasn't gonna work. Lost the game of chance, what are the chances?
Lost the game of chance, what are the chances?
This is not the first time at all, and I'm probably not the last, that we've seen Taylor refer to love as a game.
I lived in your chess game, too young to be played by a dark, twisted game. Love is a ruthless game. Love's a game, wanna play. 'Cause you know I love the players, and you love the game. Let those games begin, let those games begin now. 'Cause we were born to be the pawn in every lover's game.
I don't know how Taylor feels now, but I feel like I have memories of when she was younger, talking about how when she hopefully someday fell in love, that she wanted to give it absolutely everything she had. And like, you know, love is this big gamble, but you've got to go big or go home. And that she didn't mind if it didn't work out so long as she put everything she had into it. Sadly, sometimes the odds just aren't in your favor. Guess who we ran into at the shops, walking in circles like she was lost?
Guess who we ran into at the shops?
What a painfully real lyric. Like, the gossip and the rumor mill just keeps churning on, even when it feels like your life is falling apart. For anyone that has experienced grief, heartbreak, like any kind of earth-shattering, you know, sadness and transitional period in life, you know, it just feels so bizarre that everyone else's world is normal and keeps going as you're experiencing. I can't even like express it with words, but especially in a death, but I'm sure also in the death of a relationship, you're like, how does the world keep going? How can I have to go buy groceries right now as if my whole world isn't falling apart. I think the way that this is phrased, like guess who we ran into at the shops, really reminds me of Paris, like that kind of gossipy nature. Cardigan, like the end of Cardigan and Right Where You Left Me. Just like that painful notion of trying to wade through your grief while the rest of the world keeps churning on. You're there barely holding it together in your darkest, saddest moments and running into people that you know, or not even that you know, but know you. I can't even imagine having to endure this as a celebrity. Like imagine us at our lowest moments running into people we know. For Taylor, it would be running into people that she doesn't even know but know her, or don't even know you but want to sell a photo of you crying. Okay, then our bridge. Say it once again with feeling.
Say it once again with feeling.
This is a term said in acting or performing when someone isn't giving you the emotion that you want to see and not delivering it with like enough energy or enough of a performance. So you'd say this when you want to see a more dramatic presentation, like a more entertaining version of the story. And then how the death rattle breathing silenced as the soul was leaving.
How the death rattle breathing silenced as the soul was leaving.
Honestly, this was the hardest lyric on the album for me to hear, and like again, completely unexpectedly. If you don't know about death rattle breathing, I honestly had never heard of it until I experienced it, well, like witnessed it myself. So the death rattle is when you're dying and your body is shutting down and different systems kind of are turning themselves off. So functions like swallowing, breathing, coughing, clearing the throat all become like impossible for the body to do. So we end up making this noise that can really only be described as a rattle, like a gurgle. This is a sound that I will never be able to unhear, and I'm sure anyone that has also like witnessed this probably feels the same way. It's unlike anything I've experienced, and it's kind of like an out-of-body thing to see a human and like a body shutting down and making this. Anyway, sometimes even when people snore around me, it gives me like a minor, I don't want to say PTSD, but it's quite upsetting because it really resembles that sound. Like how visceral the sound is of someone's life leaving the body. I'm sorry if this got a little bit morbid, and I really hope you guys don't mind when I share these little personal connections and things. I think I just find it helpful to share where my mind goes when I'm hearing these songs, and also just to kind of explain what that meant, because if I didn't know what it was, I wouldn't understand that lyric at all. If you do ever experience this with a loved one, while it is deeply unsettling and unnerving and hard to hear and impossible to forget, I just want to like give you guys the confidence and the grace of knowing that that person is not in pain. They're not conscious of this. They're not aware that it's happening. They're not experiencing any discomfort. So I hope that would just give some comfort, because it does for me. So all that to say, the death rattle breathing is essentially the sign of something failing, of things shutting down, and the fact that death is imminent, you know? Things are so progressed to the point where nothing can really help save the relationship. The process of dying has begun, and this is that kind of warning sign. I hate it, but I also love Taylor's use of this metaphor to be like, we were on our last legs. I was really trying. I was giving us CPR. After a while, I had to give up. And so now this is us dying out. So like I said earlier, this is not the swift ghosting of a lover who abandoned her, but rather the last signs of life from a relationship that was breaking down. Then we have My Beloved Ghost and Me Sitting in a Tree, DYING. And like, Taylor, who comes up with this stuff? Her mind. Obviously this is a play on the childhood like rhyme song of so and so and so and so sitting in a tree, KISSING. And the fact that it is this childhood sing-song thing, so innocent and like filled with naivety and innocence, here to be used as a way of expressing such like deep to the core grief. You're just haunted by memories. And of course we end with the biggest blow of all, the reveal that she herself still wonders, like everyone else. She still does not know, how did it end?
But I still don't know. How did it end?
It's not just the media, it's not just the public or the fans or her friends and family asking. It's her asking herself too. To me this is really the sister song to You're Losing Me. Or perhaps it's like the follow-up. Like in You're Losing Me, we meet her in the middle of the night, really fighting to stop reality from settling in, giving everything she had to hold on to that life they had built together. But here, as morning comes, it's like realization dawning. The mortality rate was not looking good. And now it's all over. It's all fun and games for you guys to gossip and speculate, but I have to live with this and process this and feel this. I don't have the luxury of being a bystander every time my life unravels in front of the masses. Like, I thought I was going to spend the rest of my life with this person. You all want to know why and how it ended? Well, so do I. Next up we have a little song called So High School. Fun fact, Taylor actually gave us an Easter egg for this song before we knew it existed, documented in my own Eras Tour vlog.
Oh, Melbourne, just look at you. Look at you.
Look at you, look at you.
The fact that that is immortalized forever makes me so happy. And also there was this interview moment from New Heights, which just like captures the song so perfectly. Yet again, no one knew it existed yet.
I just think there's something that makes everyone feel like it's like the world is kind of like high school, where like your most popular pop star, like beloved musician somehow met like your most popular beloved like athlete, and they actually fell in love.
I honestly still cannot believe that So High School is on the Eras Tour set. Ate up every single other girly from the Anthology. I'm so sorry, but she did. You can hate it all you want, but I love it. And clearly Taylor loves it, so what are you gonna do? She just looks like she's having so much fun every time she performs this song, and I love that. So in my ranking, I think I said she could be singing this song in Simlish and I would still love it. And that is because the production and the instruments and the melodies are just simply so perfect. A strong drum beat paired with an electric guitar and Taylor Swift, that's everything to me. That's all I need. That is why I don't need hard drugs, because I have this song. This joins songs like The Story of Us, Better Than Revenge, Haunted, Dear John, Would've, Could've, Should've, all of those like just bangers that I love so dearly. So High School is like lyrically kind of fearless, but sonically very Speak Now. In the same way that Would've, Could've, Should've is energetically Speak Now. You see this like thread weaving all of my favorite songs together? Because I do. In fact, this song is very Sparks Fly coded, which is one of the highest compliments that I could ever give. You know, like a sexy guitar, drum, rock moment paired with like the most lustful lyrics you've ever heard from Taylor. I love it. I'm simply sold. I know a lot of people don't love this song, so my hope is really that I can influence just a couple of people to maybe appreciate it a little bit more. Okay, let's get into these lyrics. I feel so high school every time I look at you.
Feel so high school every time I look at you.
That one line sums up the entire song. After so much grief and heartache and tortured poetry and pain, she's found this love, you know, later in life, in her mid-30s, that just makes her feel so young and carefree and innocent and playful and free. She's not being weighed down by someone else's problems or insecurities or even trying to keep herself afloat. She's just feeling light and like when you have the warmth of a crush. Truly, this is like the only love song free from any doubt, insecurity, worries, fears since You Are in Love. And that wasn't even about her. That was about Jack and Lena. God, I'm just so excited for TS12. I want to find you in a crowd just to hide from you. If that is not the most high school experience I've ever heard. When you have a crush on someone and you see them in the hallway at school or at a party and you just like want to know where they are so that you can kind of have this peripheral awareness of their presence and of their being. Maybe to have like some shared eye contact, but probably not even talk to them because maybe you're too shy, but just knowing where they are. So cute, like seeing someone you had a crush on or making fun of your friend because you see them making eye contact with their crush. Ah, so cute. And the fact that someone has made Taylor feel this like innocence again, you know, we had in So Long London, she felt like she gave all of her youth away, was probably lamenting never getting to experience young love again. You know, now everything's going to be weighed down by like adult reality and responsibilities, and yet here we are. And in a blink of a crinkling eye, I'm sinking, our fingers entwined.
In a blink of a crinkling eye, I'm sinking, our fingers entwined.
So crinkling eye tells us two things. Firstly, they're smiling, because when someone smiles and you get like these little eye crinkles. And secondly, they aren't young because they've got these little wrinkles, but they feel it. I honestly used to feel so self-conscious about like crinkling eyes because mine are quite strong, like they're visible even when I'm not smiling sometimes, which, you know, I didn't like because I'm a woman and we're told we're not allowed to age. But I think I've realized it just means I smile a lot and that like my smiles over time have embedded a pattern that's visible for other people. How could that be a bad thing? How has the media twisted that into something to shame women for and like sell us products for? That's crazy. Sorry for smiling, I guess. Anyway, I'm happy now that those are visible on my face because I love seeing them in other people. Cheeks pink in the twinkling lights. All I can think about when I hear this lyric is Taylor making their initials on the lyric video light up in pink.
Cheeks pink in the twinkling lights.
That is some old school Taylor Swift uppercase letters in the lyric booklet bullshit, and it makes me so happy. You know, this is a fearless return to like her boldness that we saw on debut, Fearless, Speak Now with, you know, Dear John, and I suppose Style too. I also love that here, you know, we're referencing Twinkling Lights, which once again we had on So Long London, but that was only in her mind.
I saw in my mind fairy lights through the mist.
She was envisioning that, dreaming about it, hoping for it, pleading that that might become a reality for her. Well, now it has. It's interesting as well to compare the two titles of these songs. Like, they're definitely, to me at least, a clear, deliberate parallel. So Long London, she was pissed off she gave all her youth for free, and in So High School, she feels like she's got it back. Oh my god, also, just this month, I learned from a friend in London that people over there say long as slang for like something kind of dreary or difficult or annoying, I think. I'm probably butchering that, but like, I think it's like if there's something they didn't want to do and it was like really painful. Please correct me in the comments, but that, I wonder if that ties in at all. Tell me about the first time you saw me is again like such a crush relationship thing to do. When you're just like laying together chatting about what was your first impression of me, what did you first like about me, all of these questions you ask your partner. And here it's especially cute because the first time Travis was ever made aware of Taylor was when he was in high school. Even his first knowledge of her or the first time he saw her was So High School.
We're the same age. So I kind of like through high school and everything, I knew who Taylor was as she was like getting her career started.
I'll drink what you think and I'm high from smoking your jokes all damn night.
Drink what you think and I'm high from smoking your jokes all damn night.
Now, we like to joke that she's calling him dumb on this song, and I, myself included, but you know, in the same way that we joke that she has called people poor in other songs. But in reality, she's saying here, like, I will take in everything you say. I love it. I could listen to you speak forever. Like, she's saying he's intoxicating. And personally, I would find it refreshing, you know, after years of tortured poets, let's be honest, to someone so confident in themselves and like self-assured, and I would say like open to being proven wrong. I'd find that so refreshing. A brink of a wrinkle in time.
The brink of a wrinkle in time.
This, I think we haven't really talked about enough of like the fact that poetry is really referenced all throughout this album. This is like what, the 10th poetry album's reference so far. A Wrinkle in Time is a story about time travel, and again here just used to kind of reference how their love and the way that he treats her is transporting her back in time to, you know, when things weren't so hard and life felt a bit more carefree. And then we have Bittersweet 16 Suddenly.
Bittersweet 16 suddenly.
The Mary song reference.
I was 16 when suddenly.
My heart. I know that every other debut girly feels me on this one. It's one of the reasons I love this song so much. If you don't know, Mary's song is one of the most treasured songs to Swifties. It was about an older couple that Taylor lived next door to who just had this beautiful love and love story. And Taylor didn't sing this song live for 16 years until very recently. Personally, I think she wanted to wait until she really felt the way that that song sounds. It's something she'd always wanted for herself. And then she finally sang it. The fact that she sang Mary's song mashed up with So High School, which is already on the set list, is just so... Oh, and like, if you don't know, Mary's song is the one that references I'll be 87, you'll be 89. Just like a weird, crazy, invisible string referencing 87 and 89. I'm watching American Pie with you on a Saturday night. Your friends are around, so be quiet. I'm trying to stifle my sighs. This is the picture of 2000s love. Like, it just captures so well the era that they were both in high school. It's also so quintessentially American, like the fact that it's American Pie, like just that raunchy 2000s American film. It's so cute. And I really love that it mentions your friends being around, because I think only is that really what you did back in high school, like hang out in these big groups all together, but it's also what they've been reported to do now. Like, they just so inseparable that even when one of them's hanging out with friends, they're happy to have friends over. You know, when you're so comfortable with someone that you're willing and excited to just blend your worlds, and that includes having each other's friends around. I just love that. Obviously, alone time together is great, but the fact that you can be with like your person and also like all of your favorite people at the same time, I think it's one of the best things in the world, honestly, to have a partner that your friends get along with. I mean, A, it's a green flag, but also B, just such a blessing and great experience. The way that I'm explaining this in such a wholesome way when she's saying like, your friends are around, so be quiet, because I'm like, it's very sexy. You know, I'm trying to stifle my sighs so that your friends don't hear me from the other room. Good for you, girl. Are you gonna marry, kiss, or kill me?
Are you gonna marry, kiss, or kill me?
So obviously Marry, Kiss, Kill, or Fuck, Marry, Kill if you're Australian, was like another kind of teenage game played. Interestingly enough, the second kind of schoolyard game referenced like the KISSING, D-Y-I-N-G. Here we have a much happier version. Taylor is so funny because this here is a reference to an old interview that Travis gave where he was specifically asked this question and Taylor was included.
It's called Kill, Marry, Kiss. Taylor Swift, Ariana Grande, Katy Perry.
Damn, that's messed up. I don't want to kill any of them.
It's just a game.
Just a game.
It's just a game for Billy.
Taylor Swift would be the kiss.
So her saying, I'm betting on all three for us two, you're gonna marry, kiss, and kill me. It is insane to think about how long ago this song would have been written, given that they just, you know, celebrated their 1 year anniversary maybe a month ago by the time this comes out. This was written last year and she was already like, you're gonna marry me. Like, she feels so confident with this person. That's just lovely. And I think there's some confusion around the word kill. Two potential meanings here. You're killing me, like kind of slang being like, oh my God, you're killing me. Like, you kill me. I love you so much, you kill me. When you love something so much, it kills you. Or the potential other meaning that we saw on Guilty as Sin, something about death, but it was a metaphor for orgasm. Get my car door, isn't that sweet? Then pull me to the back seat. The duality of man here. You know, he's a gentleman, he's very old-fashioned in the sense that he will be chivalrous, take care of Taylor, and believes in, you know, protecting a woman in that sense. Gentlemanly, chivalrous, but then also can get down. She is Hannah Montana and she is living the best of both worlds. And again, I think it takes a real level of maturity, confidence, being in touch with one's masculine but also feminine to be able to do both of those things, to be able to be a partner and say, I want to open the door for you, but also like, I just feel like this is something that Taylor hasn't really experienced before, being with such, maybe to experience that real like small town chivalry. You can't date indie musicians and actors. It's gotta be a big football player.
No one knows more about dramatic males than I do.
One of my favorite lines on this song, no one's ever had me, not like you. What an unreal confession. This very much mirrors in the prologue when she said, he never scratched the surface of me, none of them did. And now here's someone who finally does. I mean, I think anyone that has seen Taylor out and about over the past year, whether that be at games, at dinner, coming off stage the Eras tour, like, it's very clear that she is in an incredibly happy, secure place in her life. And I think she's just finally being loved in a way that she deserves to be. And I don't just mean like worshipped, but I think also really understood. Like, that is such a key part of a relationship, romantic or otherwise, but really feeling seen. And I think that's kind of what she's alluding to here. I mean, actually, I feel like this lyric is very all-encompassing. Like, he is mentally stimulating, but also emotionally, physically, you know, compatible in every way that she needs. I've said this before, but I really just think he brings out the truest nature of her, like the truest, fullest version of Taylor. It's interesting to look back at songs like All Too Well, Dear John, The Manuscript, where she was kind of forcing herself to play someone a bit older, a bit more mature, and like play this different version of herself, whereas now this person has the real her. Also, I guess another interpretation of that lyric, to have someone, is like to have their back. It's like someone saying, I've got you, I'll protect you, I'll look out for you, and she's feeling that now in a way that she never has before. Just love this song. By the way, if you're interested, I have a Spotify playlist inspired by this song. It's called So High School, and it's songs that I kind of grew up listening to around that time. I'm obviously younger than Taylor and Travis, so it's not the same, but songs that I loved in high school and have this kind of same feeling. People often ask me, it's called So High School, why isn't So High School on that playlist? I'm like, because it's inspired by that song. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's like, if you love So High School, the song, this is a playlist of songs that you might love as well. I'll link that below. And then we have one of the best bridges ever made. I feel like she saved me with that one. Here we have more references to like teenage games, Truth or Dare and Spin the Bottle, things we were playing in high school. Well, not everyone. Personally, I think I was singing songs from Rent and Wicked with my acting friends, but you know, it paints a picture. You know how to ball, I know Aristotle. You know how to ball, I know Aristotle. Literally the Troy and Gabriella, Nathan and Haley of it all. How could I not think she wrote this song for me? Now that you think of it, Taylor didn't really get to experience that high school, like cool kid romance that, you know, we see play out in the You Belong With Me music video, and neither did I. So she wrote this song for both of us. Also, Aristotle is not just a throwaway rhyme here to represent her being smart or worldly. She literally has quoted Aristotle in her work.
A friend to all is a friend to none.
Aristotle will always make me think of Legally Blonde. And then I was gonna quote, "To thine own self be true. I believe that statement best applies to a woman, a blonde woman." Guys, if you haven't seen Legally Blonde the musical or listened to the soundtrack, you simply need to. But then I remembered that quote is Shakespeare. So yet again, another tortured poet. Brand new, Full Throttle. I joked in my reaction video that this was her referencing Charlie's Angels' Full Throttle, iconic movie, but this is actually referencing a Travis Kelce moment interview that he did with Kristen Cavallari last year.
How long does it take for you to know if you're gonna like someone or not? Because I feel like I know immediately.
To really dive into a relationship with somebody, I feel like it's going to take it's going to take some time. You really got to know somebody to take that step and really like be committed and be in full throttle.
Now, she obviously references throttle again on The Prophecy. So here, I think she's kind of saying she feels like she's broken the curse. Also, full throttle just means like full speed ahead, you know, 0 to 100. And if anything describes their relationship, it seems to be that. Touch me while your bros play Grand Theft Auto.
Touch me while your bros play Grand Theft Auto.
The way that she's woven in like childhood references and activities, yet made them so sexual. I don't even want to verbalize what Scout's Honor refers to because I don't know if YouTube will allow me to. And then You Know What You Wanted and Boy You Got Her. No line could better sum up Travis Kelce's 2023 experience. Like, he literally went to the Eras tour with a friendship bracelet and a dream. And look at him now. It's funny, I think it was in my breakdown to the updated Eras tour, like performance and set list and whatnot, I was like, wow, I can't believe this time last year, he hadn't even met her yet, he hadn't even gone to the Eras tour, and now there's a song about him performed on stage. Now he has in fact also been on stage himself. If you don't believe your life can truly change in a year, this is the proof. And then finally, You Already Know Babe is simply, again, a Travis Kelce quote.
You already know, having fun flying around.
Taylor has woven so much of him and like their relationship and inside jokes and references throughout this song, but especially on the Eras tour and in that choreography. I already have broken that down in a previous video, so I'll just sprinkle some of that in here for you.
Mama is the guy on the streets.
Also, I feel like laughing in the middle of practice just gives me such imagery of Taylor's character in Valentine's Day. And again, really just feels so genuinely high school. Like you're just hanging out at sports practice, like kind of goofing off, flirting with someone. And I'm so glad she's been able to find this playful love. That might not be what everyone wants, but I think that's just incredibly sweet. It's crazy that in her life, she's done things greater than dating the boy on the football team. But now she's doing that too. Her life really is the You Belong With Me music video come to life. If nothing else sells you on this song, I hope it is just how incredible Taylor sounds at the end of it. I'm such a fan. And finally, us ending on You Already Know ties it all back together because she's kind of not poking fun, but maybe like referencing a quote that Travis says very often. Essentially one of his catchphrases. Well guys, I hope I have given you some insight into this incredible song. I know that not everyone loves it because maybe you find it a little bit cheesy or not as deep and meaningful as the other songs in this album, especially on the Anthology. It really feels like a moment of speak now, fearless, placed into like folklore and evermore, but honestly I needed it. This is my life raft amongst a sea of like incredibly emotionally charged songs. I know a lot of you guys didn't love my ranking of this album for that reason, because I said some of these songs are sometimes too sad for me to listen to and put myself through. I would personally love to know how when you guys are like sad and at your lowest, you're able to listen to songs that are incredibly depressing and not feel worse. I don't know if that's like a skill I don't have. I would truly love to be able to do it, so let me know. But personally, this song just makes me very happy, if you couldn't tell. We're gonna end part 1 on that very happy note. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today as I dissected all of these songs. As always, it's obviously just my interpretation, and I would love nothing more than to hear yours. I don't think there are any right or wrong answers. You know, like Taylor said, once you put a song out into the world, it's open to interpretation. So let me know how you read these songs, how they impact you, and what you think about them. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. I will have a reminder in the description of the steps, and definitely get yourself some Loop earplugs. That will be linked below as well. I'm very excited to continue talking about the anthology with you guys. I feel like these songs are just so juicy and meaty, and we have so much to explore. I hope you've enjoyed this first part, that I've somewhat done it justice for you. If I did, give it a like to let me know, but otherwise, I will see you very soon for part 2. Bye!
Is this what it feels like to grow up?